Hi everyone, we can continue GST chapter from the book Understanding Mathematics by MLAggarwal of class 10. Now we can start question number 3. Mr. Bedi visits the market and buys the following articles. Medicines costing rupees 950, GST at 5%. A pair of shoes costing 3000 rupees, GST at 18%. A laptop costing rupees 1000 with a discount of 30%, GST at 18%. Calculate the total amount of GST paid. And second question, the total bill amount including GST paid by Mr. Bedi. So given cost price of the medicine is what? Cost price of medicine is given as 950 and GST is 5%. So what will be the GST? GST is equal to 5% of 950. That is 5 by 100 into 950. So 475 divided by 10. So remove one decimal place. So it will be, so 10 means remove one decimal place. So it will be 47.5 rupees will be the GST for the medicine. Same way cost price of shoes is given as CP of shoes is given as what? Rupees 3000. GST is given as 18%. So what will be the GST? GST is equal to 18% of 3000. Okay. So it will be 18 by 100 into 3000. So 18 into 30, which is equal to what? 540. 540 rupees. Next, cost price of the laptop is given as what? Cost price of laptop is rupees 1000 and GST is given as 18%, but they are giving a discount of what? 30%. So what will be the new cost price of this laptop? New CP of this laptop will be, they are giving a discount of 30%. So 30% discount they are giving means remaining we have to pay. That means 70% we have to pay. So what will be the new cost price? New cost price will be 70% of what? 1000 rupees of 1000. So how much amount we have to pay? 70 by 100 into 1000. So we have to pay 700 rupees for that laptop instead of 1000 rupees. So instead of 1000 rupees we have to pay only 700 rupees for the laptop. But GST is given as what? 18%. So what will be the GST? GST is equal to what? 18% of what? The new cost price, it is what? 700. So 18 by 100 into 700. So it will be 18 into 7, 126. So GST for the laptop is 126. Okay. Then our question is, calculate the total amount of GST paid. So what will be the total amount of GST paid? For medicine we got GST as what? For the medicine we got GST as 47.5. And for shoes we got the GST as 540. So 540 rupees GST we had to pay for the shoes, and now we got for the laptop we had to pay 126. So total amount will be, if we add these three, that is 47.5 plus 540 plus 126, these three values if we add, we will get the total amount of GST paid. So total amount of GST paid is equal to 47.5 plus 540 plus 126. Okay, that is 713.5. That is the total amount of GST paid. The next part is the total bill amount including GST paid by Mr. Bedi. So total bill means it will be included. That means GST will be included. No. So what is the cost price of this medicine? Cost price of medicine is what? 950. 950 and cost price of the shoes is what? 3000. And now we got the new cost price of the laptop is 700. So these are the total cost price. Along with the cost price, we have to add the total GST. Each GST we have to add. That means we have already added that GST. So we got the total GST as 713. Along with this, we have to add a 713.5. So total bill amount including GST will be 950 for the medicine, 3000 shoes, then 700 laptop, and together the GST will be 713.5. So final amount will be 5363.5. 5363.5 will be the total amount including GST. Okay. Question number 4. A shopkeeper buys an article from a wholesaler for rupees 20,000 and sells it to a consumer at 10% profit. If the rate of GST is 12%, find the tax liability of the shopkeeper. So what is mean by tax liability? Liability means the extra amount after selling the shopkeeper will give to the government. No, that is known as liability. Liability means it's an extra amount after selling that item. The shopkeeper will give to the government. Shopkeeper will give a certain amount to the government. That extra amount after selling he is giving to the government, that is known as liability. Okay. So that we want to find out. That means the difference between the input GST and the output GST is known as the liability. Input GST and output GST. Input GST means input GST is a GST paid by the dealer, and output GST means it is collected by the dealer. So that is the difference between input and output GST. That means liability will be the difference between the input GST and the output GST. Okay, so we can start our answer. Here shopkeeper is buying an article from the wholesaler. So what will be the cost price of the shopkeeper? So he is buying from the wholesaler. So cost price of the shopkeeper is given as what? 20,000. And he is getting a profit of 10%. So what will be the profit? Profit will be 10% of, that is 10% of 20,000. 20,000, which will be 10 by 100 into 20,000. So it will be 10 into 200, which is equal to 2,000 rupees. He is getting a profit of 2,000 rupees. So what will be the selling price of the shopkeeper? Selling price will be what? Cost price plus this profit. So selling price of this shopkeeper will be, CP plus profit. So CP is what? 20,000 plus profit 2,000. So it will be 22,000 will be the selling price of the shopkeeper. And it is given that the rate of GST is 12%. So what will be the GST paid by the consumer? It will be 12%. So what will be the GST? 12% GST means selling price of the shopkeeper is 22,000. So the cost price of the consumer will be what? Same as the selling price of the shopkeeper. So 22,000. And GST is what? 12%. Okay. So GST in rupees will be what? 12% of 22,000. That is 12% of 22,000. That is 12 by 100 into 22,000. So 12 into 220 is equal to 2640. 2640 rupees. Okay. So that 2640 is the tax output tax. That is, it is the tax paid by the consumer. It is 2640. And what will be the GST paid by the shopkeeper? GST paid by the shopkeeper, GST is what? 12%. Given GST is 12%. And so GST paid by the shopkeeper will be 12% of what? 20,000. 20,000. Okay. So 12% of 20,000 is the GST paid by the shopkeeper, since the cost price is what? 20,000. And GST paid by the consumer will be 12% of 22,000, because the cost price of the consumer is 22,000. So consumer GST, we got it as 2,640. Here we have to find out the GST of the shopkeeper. So it will be GST paid by the shopkeeper will be 12 by 100 into 20,000. So it will be 2,400. Okay. So 2,400 is the input GST. Input GST. So unknowingly I wrote here as a input. So this is profit only, no? So that's why I rub that. So input GST is what? 2,400 and output GST is 2,640. So we have to find the liability. Liability will be the difference of that two GSTs, input and output GST. So difference between the input and output GST is known as the liability. Therefore, liability is equal to output GST minus input GST. So that is 2,640 minus 2,400, which is equal to 240 rupees is the extra amount the shopkeeper has to pay to the government. That is known as a liability. So 2,040 is a liability. Okay. Thank you.